Hello and welcome to episode 26 of On the 50. Today, my special guest is Darcie Aungst. Darcie has been with Dartmouth Indoor Percussion for the last 27 years. She is the show coordinator, costume designer, set designer, choreographer, and much more. She is also the artistic director at the Cadets Drum and Bugle Corps. Darcie is a big inspiration to me, and I'm sure many other designers out there. If you've been paying attention to indoor drumline, well, ever, Dartmouth is a staple. They're one of the early innovators in terms of theatrics and immersive set design and costuming and just total programming. They set a very high bar, and many other groups have followed their lead. And if you watch any Dartmouth production, you'll just know that they put a ton of effort into every detail, and it really shows up. Dartmouth has been a Scholastic World finalist, I think, every year. I'm not going to have to check on that one. And they have 5 gold medals and many other flavored medals. So they are just an important group to the evolution of the activity. Darcie and I talked about the culture at Dartmouth and how they have gotten the group to the level that they are currently at. We also talked about the state of drum corps and the marching arts in general as it relates to gender, race, sexuality, and just kind of how we can move forward in an activity that feels progressive and labels itself progressive, but all of its practices don't necessarily fall in line. I am just a huge fan of Darcie's. I think she's an awesome person. She's super nice. She's just an inspiration to anyone who is interested in the creative side of what we do. So please enjoy. So I am very interested in your tenure at Dartmouth, and obviously Tom's as well. Dartmouth is the staple in the East Coast. I'm from Norwalk, Connecticut, so the first Scholastic World group I ever saw was Dartmouth. It was the Human Body Show. It must have been 2005, maybe. And that was very altering, to see the maturity of the group. And there's a couple facets of the group that I find interesting. And the drumming it's its own thing. When you look at the Cadets years that Tom was there and is obviously back there now, the fundamental drumming part is so critical. Everything is kind of centralized around the playing, and if you see Dartmouth's fall line, incredible fundamentals, and just the clarity and just the identity is so huge. Amongst that, though, there is the theatrics, the movement, the set design, the costuming, and the dance ensemble. So not only do you have this very strong, a drumline's drumline, if you will, there's also the huge production value. And even back in 2005, it was like these giant props, and I think there was something that peeled away, so there was an evolution of the props. What has it been like starting at Dartmouth, now having been there, 26 seasons? Did you start and you're like, we're going to blow this thing sky high? What was the evolution? Did you immediately say, we need to do more? Because I feel like there's always been a maximalist approach where it's like, we're going to do the most we can do. And bring as many elements to the floor as we can bring. So did you start out like that? What did that process look like to get to the Dartmouth that we see today?
Yeah, I definitely started out like that. That was my background. I don't know if anybody's seen competitive dance team on the West Coast and a lot in California, but at that time, it was, giant props and people, like I said, doing backflips off, just this whoa, in these big arenas. And when I came to Dartmouth's very small. And at the time it was at the old high school. It was a tiny place. And at the time I went to an indoor drumline show and they're wearing either the band uniforms without the shako usually. Yeah. And then, or black t-shirts and jeans, right? And everybody had the same black belt and black sneakers, And I just remember thinking like, wow, you could do so much more, because the music was awesome. I mean, they were playing, West Side Story and all these things from musicals, that musicals without the visual is kind of like, I mean, the music is fantastic, of course, but if you're going to put yourself in a gym, let's go. Otherwise, be in the auditorium. It's going to sound way better.
Right.
Right? So, yeah, my first years there, I remember the drum line has changed so much too. And these guys, I'm still friendly with them. But my first few years, they were like rough and tumble. I don't know if you might have been too young for this, but they were very like tough East Coast, like very aggressive, and they weren't having any of me coming in and saying like, we're going to wear makeup.
I can imagine.
But we started to play with that. And, I actually, for the first show that I really took over in 94, I borrowed stuff from the Marauders. Like I had these, costuming ladies who did, these beautiful, like authentic Matador, costumes. And so we borrowed those. We actually borrowed some from Madison Scouts. I don't know if you remember, that was really old school. Mm-hmm. And I put kids in that, and people were like, whoa, like there were sequins and all this, stuff on them. But, a Matador is very aggressive still. It's very masculine.
Right.
So they were like, okay. So the next year, 95, I could just see like this beautiful kind of Nefertiti Egyptian, like ancient Egyptian show. And in order to do that, I like the way you said it's like maximum. We got to max it out.
Yeah.
You can't put the drumline in pants. They didn't wear pants.
Yeah.
I want to be as authentic as possible. And so I sat them down, and these kids would like fight and stuff. Like if I would, not each other, but sometimes like it was just like, whoa. I was like, you have to wear tunics. And they were like, that's a dress.
Yeah.
And I was like, and you're not going to wear shoes, or we're going to, you're going to wear sandals, da-da-da. And so they did it. And that year at NESBA, which is the New England circuit up here, they got a perfect score. They got a 100, every caption, everything. And then really after that year with those kids, those tough, kids, they let me do what I want, so they're like, okay.
So you proved it.
Yeah. I was like, you have to trust that this is going to be something nobody else has seen before. It's going to be visually kind of like, whoa, overwhelming. And it was at the time. I mean, it was white and gold, and every single kid was in it. I made them wear wigs and headpieces, and it was beautiful. And that was before floors or anything. So, yeah, that's where it started. And we went for it, and it didn't cost a lot of money. If you think about it, those tunics we made, it's just white lining fabric. We borrowed stuff from the Marauders again and went from there.
Thinking now, looking not only at indoor, and when I think about Dartmouth, the powdered wigs comes up for me, the Marie Antoinette Off With Her Head show, like how insane that is. Like you're getting kids to dress in such a, I'm going to say flamboyant, that's not a negative connotation, but just a totally explosive style aesthetically, the Marie Antoinette year. But then the Bird show, I don't know all the names of the shows off of my head, so forgive me. But the show where they're all costumed as birds and they're chirping instead of dudding. What are some of the other shows? I mean, just in recent years, the Alien show is sort of like Halo inspired. The The through line here is the commitment. I think I look at all these shows and it's like they're so different, honestly. Like from year to year, there's not this need to go, well, we did this and it works. We're going to do the exact same thing stylistically. It's going to work. It's almost like this jagged sort of jump to and from styles, but the identity through it is a commitment from every level. And this is what I think is really special about the Dartmouth program is like there has been, I think the word commitment and consistency is really big because you look at these productions and it's like, we're not going to just go 25% and then the 75% is going to be drumline. We're going to go 110% with the aesthetic, and the drumline and the pit is still going to be as good as ever.
Right.
And that
let it be anything else than that.
Right. Well, you have two minds that are operating on parallel tracks, where Tom is like this methodical, the uniformity, the approach, like all of the amazing things you see in the Cadets from the mid 90s all the way through his first stint and now back, and they've evolved quite a bit, in this newest era. But that alongside the commitment to the aesthetic, it's such a winning approach. And now thinking about it, when you're talking about the costuming year to year, you must be looking at indoor and drum corps and going, yeah, I've been doing this. Is that how you feel? Because drum corps is exactly that now. We're so full out with our aesthetic now. You must be feeling like, yeah, like I've been doing this since 1993. Duh.
Everything evolves at its own pace, and I think to new designers, you have to be willing to have your own voice and your own belief system and your own style of design, and you cannot worry about what other groups are doing or what the trend is, or you have to, like you've described what I like about design, right? It's like when you think about Marie Antoinette, what things just automatically come to your head? Now, how can we go all in with that, but then also get some other layers and then put effects to that, find music that fits that, and go from there. But yeah, I'm not going to leave a stone unturned when it comes to a concept. And I think, yeah, I love where drum corps is going. And I think to your point about Dartmouth is it doesn't take away from the playing or the tradition or the excellence. It's, if you do it right, it only elevates that and then into a whole package, which I think more people can appreciate. Like I appreciate the musicianship because I was a piano player, but you shouldn't have to play an instrument to enjoy drum corps, indoor percussion even. Like, a lot of people go to those shows who aren't players. They're grandma and grandpa and aunt, uncle, mom, dad, and they've never picked up an instrument in their life. I still want them to enjoy the show too. And I get a lot of people that come up to me after and they'll say, "Are you with Dartmouth? Don't tell my kid, but you're my favorite show," because I understood, I got it. I got what you were doing. It was so cool. It was so fun. So I kind of went off on a tangent there, but yeah, I'm super happy about where drum corps is going and don't understand the people who don't want it to go there.